So the 2010 season for Dodge Viper Cup is now in the record books. Over 16 drivers have distinguished themselves as professionals to make this series one of the most watched in North America. All of these drivers are unique in their own right, but one thing they share in common is a distinct passion for the Dodge Viper. Well, we've been all over North America with this program, and the championship stayed tight right till the end. In fact, we've had some of the best racing this series anybody's seen in 2010. All we have to look forward to now is the 2011 season. This is Dodge Viper Cup.
On the edges of Death Valley National Park lies Pahrump, Nevada. And in Pahrump lies Spring Mountain Motorsports Ranch, a new circuit that provides its own extreme challenges. Hi everybody, welcome to the final round of the Dodge Viper Cup. I'm Greg Kramer. Let's get right to your starting lineup. On pole for the first time, Ralph Gilles with Tanner Foust alongside. Ryan Schimsk, your new champion, and Ben Keating, his challenger throughout the year. Jeff Courtney and the ever-quick Keith Verges fill out row number 3. We go to row 4, it's Mike Von Quillick and Michael Zwiebach. We go to row number 5, and you'll find Kurt Solberger and Jim Stout, one of 3 drivers here who can end the year finishing in the top 10 in every round. Eric Galern and Connie Bogan, who's another of those drivers, fill out row 6, and then row 7 is Dave Mazik. The other guy who could do it is the champ, and that, of course, is Ryan Schimsk. We're ready for the green. When those red lights go out, you see the green at the back of the field, meaning the grid is clear. We're ready to start this final round of the championship. There we go! There's Gilles in the black car, but what a start by Tanner Foust, that Red Viper on the outside. Can he make the, yes, he closes the door. That was an unbelievable launch by Foust.
Ralph Gilles started off on the wrong side of the track for him, so maybe a bit of a traction problem, but he's also got his mirrors full of these two guys who have been on each other's case all year long.
It has been a great battle between Schimsk, looking back at his challenger, as I said, Ben Keating. They have been at war all season long in so many different ways. Meanwhile, there is Keating, and he has got himself some pressure as well, of course, in the early going here. Here we go, through one of my favorite parts of this track, the 3-4 complex. As you're turning, you're braking, you're downshifting. It is a tightrope walk, and they do it beautifully. Foust leads out.
You can see some of these nuances of track design here as we start to get around here. You know, they lay out a circuit in the middle of the desert, and then they work it for a little while. And as you can see, here's one of the places where the apex curbing really doesn't mean much. They tend to go past it and beyond it. It's one of those things that make this circuit really unbelievable.
And plenty of runoff, that's the other side of it, so you can push the envelope just a little bit. And in these Vipers, one thing you want to do with these amazing ACRX machines, you just want to gas it all the time.
Well, absolutely. You want to use all that 650 horsepower that's under your right foot there. And Spring Mountain Raceway has several places where you can execute that. And that makes this track a favorite of this driver, Ryan Schimsk.
Without a doubt, sitting in third right now, but you can see Keating is definitely keeping the pressure on. Ralph Gilles dropping a tire here and there. As we talked about, using every ounce of this track and more on occasion. And once again, riding with Ben Keating, looking back at his pursuers at this point. Some awfully good racing going on a little bit further back in the pack as well. And here we sit now with Keith Verges dropping back a couple of spots, sitting in 6th.
You know, Keith Verges has an opportunity to finish in the top 3 of the championship, so I imagine he's being just a tiny bit conservative right up until that moment where he runs up under the back bumper of the 99 car. That's Jeff Courtney.
Lots of great racing. That's the battle for 5th, obviously. Verges sitting in 6th, Courtney in front of him right there, holding down that spot. And here we go, new section of track. This is what they call the bus stop. It extended the length. This section and the S's extended it from 3.1 to 3.3 miles in duration, and it certainly makes challenges. And of course, one of the things you don't often hear about a racetrack is there are spots in this one you need patience. Tanner Foust leads, Gilles and Schimsk. We'll be back.
With so much racing going on in the world, you'd have to be a four-headed monster to keep up with it all. Luckily, we have that. Join Peter Keene, Bill Wood, Errol Tucker, and their guest driver analysts each week for an opinionated look at the news coming out of the racing world. Remember, it's GoRacingTV.com for all your racing and video needs.
A beautiful image as backlit clouds and their shadows highlight and drape the sheep range, and then you roll down the mountainside. There lies Spring Mountain Motorsports Ranch, where the final round of the Dodge Viper Cup is under contest, the 10th round. And one of the best contests on the track is this one for 8th. Eric Galaire, that green Viper comes in 7th in the points, and right behind him, and a great performance by Mike Zwieback in that white Viper, and only his second start in the series.
You know, he started here at the last round at this beautiful racetrack and did a fantastic job with that number 53 car, and of course proudly carrying that pink ribbon on the front of his car. It's so important to support breast cancer during the month of October, and of course this is when this race ran.
Yeah, absolutely. The fight against this disease is on everybody's mind. It's something they all support, but right now Zwieback is throwing everything at trying to get around that green Viper. We hop on board with Kurt Solberger, and up front, that was Zwieback running wide, and Jim Stout checked up, and Solberger just got into the back of him hard. Looks like everybody's going to be able to continue. The question is, will Zwieback? Yes, he's back and underway. We talk about that breast cancer logo. You know, this sport and this series is certainly about cars and competition, but as Tom Antonelli on the board of directors of the North American Road Racing Association tells us, it's also about just good company.
All racers come to race their cars, but half of that is the camaraderie and the family environment with North America Road Racing, Viper Days, Dodge Viper Cup. It is a huge family. The Dodge community, the Viper community all came together this month. During our banquet and awards ceremony last night, we were able to raise $18,000 for breast cancer, and it's that family atmosphere that we strive to do. You know, anybody can show up with a high-performance car or a street car. We have a DE, or driver education. We also have a wheel-to-wheel race group, and then we have the Dodge Viper Cup. So we have a fit for everybody. We're really looking forward and striving to build this series into being one of the best series in the country.
Well, I certainly don't think you can fault the plan, and you certainly can't fault the competition. I mean, look at this. You got Tanner Foust, a guest driver, leading Ralph Schills, one of the representatives of this series in so many different ways, and then you've got the champ Ryan Schimsk all over the back, running in third at this point. That's good competition.
Pretty good shot of those guys using all the track and a little bit more too, as that number 33 car of Ben Keating never fails, as we see them starting to spread out just a little bit and using all of the track. Ryan Schimsk just slightly conservative here as he starts to look at the back of Ralph Schills.
There is Ralph. We hop on board with Ralph, and he looks back now. That's the camera angle back to Ryan Schimsk. That's your margin, second to third right now. I tell you what, Ralph has given this thing a serious ride, but as I say that, just a little bit hot going in there. Might even hurt a little bit of a brake lock up when that car skated on him just a little bit. Nice save.
Really nice save by Ralph, and he's been racing in the proximity of, as you see him go a little bit wide again, racing in the proximity of Ryan Schimsk for quite some time, so he's used to this as they go through that slight elevation change. Ryan Schimsk starting to smell blood in the water now, mate.
Boy, he is hunting to be sure. Here we go, Schimsk showing the nose. Schills covers it at this point, but it doesn't get much closer than this. Here we go, hard on the brakes. Oh, and Schills again misses the apex just a little bit. Schimsk jumps on the opportunity and slices through, and that may have been, once he got off that line just a little bit, about 4 corners back, gets you off your rhythm. You can't find it again. Best thing he can do now is follow Schimsk, who's got that rhythm, follow him around a little bit, get back on line. Then we'll see what happens.
Ryan Schimsk has cottoned on to single make racing here. He knows that he's got more or less within a 1 or 2% of exactly what Ralph's got. So he knows when to stick his nose in there and take advantage. And the other thing is that Ralph knows it too.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you saw right there Ralph in that last onboard shot really cut into that corner hard, and it worked. The problem is this cut and thrust between these two has allowed Tanner Foust to open his margin up in the lead. A lot more to come.
Hi there, I'm Tom Natchu, and this is Greg Kramer. We're called the old bastards of racing in many circles. You know, I guess we met back in the late 1980s.
Easy. It had to be at least that far back. Glory day of some racing, too.
Oh, absolutely. Trans Am was a part of the picture, and actually I learned to do pro announcing from this man around the Trans Am Championship. Oh, that is a long time ago.
A very long time ago, but I'll tell you what, you take a look at Trans Am racing in the early 90s in particular, the names that were running at that time. But the other side of the story was World Challenge was really starting to come alive at that point. And the names in that, there were sometimes you'd look at the two rosters and go, you know, I'm not sure which one is the most talent. Some amazing stuff from those decades past. And of course, a lot of those drivers also doubling up, running amateur racing in the runoffs. And it was spectacular stuff.
Now, Go Racing TV has got all of that action, Trans Am World Challenge, and even some runoff material, all coming up over the next season. That's going to be something to watch.
I know, to be able to relive those 2 decades of motorsports from the Sports Car Club of America's Pro Racing Department, Trans Am World Challenge, and then you include the National Amateur Championships, the runoff, the intense battles that unfolded there. It simply doesn't get any better than that, and it lives again right here on GoRacingTV.com.
Because I need to spend more time in front of my computer.
Wow, no matter how you look at it, a Viper running an anger looks gorgeous. Great helicopter shot here at String Mountain Motorsports Ranch. Final round of the Dodge Viper Cup. Under contest, as we've said, in a great battle here. Behind leader Tanner Foust, you've got Schimsk, you've got Schills, and closing is Ben Keating. All of these cars run on Michelin tires. It is a superb tire. When you abuse them a little like that, you're happy to have such a great tire, but it's win-win for everybody, as Michelin's Sylvia Mamone explained to us a bit earlier.
Well, the relationship between Viper and Michelin is a long-standing one. We have been privileged to be the original equipment tire since the inception of the Viper. So it was only natural to us when Viper approached us and said that they would like to start a racing series in North America. It's always exciting. Our ALMS program obviously has been developing since '99 when we started in ALMS, and we have a lot of great relationships with our technical partners. When we approached Viper, the one difference is that we were able to bring what we call a customer tire. We want to be able to offer all of the drivers the same tire so that they are concentrating on their driving skills and not having to worry about all the different tire solutions that are available in ALMS. I think Michelin does a very good job at integrating itself in its motorsports program. We look at it from every perspective, and we're able to bring to the end consumer what we've been learning in racing. So our high performance tires at the end of the day have some basic understanding, some knowledge that we've learned over the years in racing to that high performance tire that makes it a better tire.
You know, Tom, I've had the pleasure of working with Sylvia and watching that Michelin operation unfold in the American Le Mans Series, and their commitment and their quality of that product is simply unparalleled. It's amazing.
Well, when you say unparalleled, you're absolutely right, especially in the American Le Mans Series where they compete with a lot of other tire companies. They constantly set the bar for professionalism and they win a lot of races. It's hard to fault that.
Absolutely, and the white flag is out. We are on our last lap, and once again, Ralph Schills now sitting in that 3rd spot, feeling the pressure from Ben Keating, who would love to wrap up his season with another podium spot. Ben going to give it everything he can, but Ralph, ever since he had that little bit of a bobble, Tom, he has really sort of calmed down a little bit and has really started to drive, hit his marks, and has really upped his game.
You know, there's Tanner Foust at the front of this whole thing, and he lined up right next door to Ralph at the beginning. And as we look at Tanner Foust, he's flawless, but you know, he may be a little bit quicker than everybody else, but he's enough of a professional to always to keep the show in order. But Tanner Foust definitely deserves the win. He's led from flag to flag.
Yeah, he's earned it, certainly, and he had a great launch and was able to sweep across and take the lead, and has not made a mistake, hasn't put a wheel wrong yet. There's Schimsk, the champion. There's Ralph Schills giving it a great run in his 3rd start. And then Ben Keating, once again, would love to come in here with a podium. He's got 4 of them this year. We'd love to finish with at least one more. Problem is, he's running out of time, but boy, did he close up nicely there.
Ben Keating is definitely in contention for the 2nd place in the championship. He's going to want to preserve that. So chase Ralph Schills down, try to run him down. Maybe not, Greg. Maybe he's just going to play it a bit more conservative. 2nd place in the championship is certainly worthy, especially for year number 1.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the first year of any series, the record book stands, and the order there is always something that people will be looking at. And certainly Keating has earned a good second spot, doesn't want to throw that away. But I get the feeling if he sees any opportunity, he's certainly going to pounce. But just look at the beautiful lines that Tanner's driving.
Yeah, that certainly is the history with Ben, but you're absolutely right. Tanner Foust, who is a drifter by profession and now starting to do a little bit of rallycross over in Europe, certainly has cottoned on to road racing. He hasn't put a wheel wrong, certainly hasn't lit up the rear tires, as we can see. We've seen him do it in a Dodge Viper, hasn't done it. Now he's into the bus stop, into the final few corners on this racetrack.
Well, that shows you something, doesn't it? To be able to make the adjustment from drifting, where it's all about abuse of the tires in the show, to here making that tire live, driving it right to the edge and not exceeding it. He's done a brilliant job. Just one more run through the S's, and Tanner Foust is on his way to a first win in this series and only his second start. Here he comes. The checker is out. Ryan Schimsk gets his 9th podium and completes every race in the top 10. A great run for him. And then that battle between Schills and Keating, they end up just that close, and once again, Keating, that's his 6th top 5. As we take a look at the results, Foust, Schimsk, Schills, your podium, and Keating, another great run by Keith Verges. Nice to have Jeff Courtney back. You take a look at the rest of the pack. Now let's go to the points, and here is the big story. Of course, Schimsk has already clinched coming in. Keating gets his 2nd, Verges 3rd, Jim Stout, the only other driver other than Schimsk to finish every race in the top 10. Then Von Quillick rounds out the top 5. Well, let's hear from our champions and our winners as soon as we come back from this break.
The club, an amateur racer. Here at Go Racing TV, we salute you. And we want to give you all the tools and info to compete with the best. Find out how to do it all from your own garage by watching our Club Racer and Autocrosser shows. GoRacingTV.com, supplying all your video racing needs.
The last race of a compelling first season of the Dodge Viper Cup is complete. The field making its way back into the pit and paddock and victory circle. And that means Tom Natchew has made his way down there, and I think his eyes are on a chat first and foremost with our new champion. Tom?
Well, Ryan, you know, the whole thing got wrapped up yesterday, but today you were racing like you were still in it for the championship.
Yeah, I wanted to finish up strong for our team and just finish up strong in front of this great crowd here today, this great facility. I couldn't ask for more. I got to thank my team, Motul, American Racing Technology, Whitehead Motorsports. My team's been awesome this whole week and this whole season. I can't thank them enough. It's been great.
It really has been great. You know, there's not too many guys with the temerity to pass this gentleman right here.
Wow, we had a really great race today. I was trying to hang back and let you and Tanner have a good battle, hoping somebody would make a mistake that I could capitalize on. And man, it came at the very end, so I lucked out in that respect, but great race. Yeah.
Let's talk about that dive bomb that you made.
I couldn't see. The Hans works pretty well, so you can't turn it, but it was awesome. I knew he was going to be a good driver. And I thank all the sponsors, Mopar and especially Michelin. They did a great job supporting us all season, so thank you.
Ryan Schimsk is your new Viper Cup champion. Well, gentlemen, just about the only production car in the street that's going to beat a Dodge Viper is another Dodge Viper, and that's the way it worked out in the start of this race.
Yeah, that was a blast. I can't believe how well these things hold up. You know, you just beat the tar out of them for, I don't know, what was that, 25 minutes, and you know, they're the same the last lap as they were the first, so it's pretty impressive stuff.
You know, you had an opportunity to get him on the start there, but you certainly dogged him all the way through the race.
I'm going to use a professional excuse. I was on the dirty side of the track. It was a lot of fun. He took off like a rocket. It was awesome.
You know, the 67 car wins a championship, and it's also good to see him playing into the very last race of the year, and you were a big part of that one, too.
Yeah, you know, the pleasure of this whole thing was the gentlemanly racing. These guys are pros, and they give you room. It's awesome. It's a pleasure.
You know, Tanner, this is the first time we've ever had a guest driver come in here and win it. How are you feeling about that?
It's cool. I mean, there's yesterday's race was a little bit more, you know, going on around the rest of the track, kind of, and today was just real clean, straightforward racing, and I mean, I'm pretty blown away by the cars. I've driven the Vipers before, but never driven them with slicks, and you really get the whole potential out of the car, I think, when you put on a sticky tire like that, and it's pretty awesome to come out here and run, and the competition level is great. I mean, Ryan winning the championship, wrapping it up yesterday, and I mean, it's a heated battle out there. It's a lot of fun.
Well, we've got two great podiums to look at. There's the champion podium, Schimsk, Keating, and Verges. And then, of course, the podium from round 10 itself, an equally worthy one, with Tanner Foust doing the job right there over Schimsk and Ralph Gilles. But you know what, as we watch the celebration, we want to take a look back at some of the exceptional moments of this first ever season of Dodge Viper Cup competition. They were legion. It all started at VIR in round 1. And here, Ryan Schimsk, who started dead last after a post-qualifying tech infraction, passes Verges for third. That's the kind of drive that takes you to the championship. Ben Keating got the win, however. Now we go to VIR's round 2, and Schimsk starts on pole, leads all the way to the checker, but these drivers, close quarters racing, exceptional stuff. Verges and Keating in the guest driver program. Sean Bailey and Larry Chance, a great battle, showing its worth as well, with a great battle for 4th.
Onto the track at Hallett, Oklahoma, and this set the tone for the weekend. Connie Bogan side by side with newcomer AJ Morgan, and it was hot all over the circuit, especially temperature-wise. Here's an idea of what went on in the first of the 2 rounds there. It's Verges going around the number 33 car of Ben Keating, and guest driver Richie Hearn takes advantage of that as well. Gives you an idea of how hot it was in the cockpits, 158 degrees, and Ryan Schimsk gets his 2nd win of the season. In round number 2, the action was just as hot as you see Ben Keating go flying off at turn number 1. Verges continues. Here's a shot from AJ Morgan's car, including yesterday's winner, Ryan Schimsk. At the end of the day, Richie Hearn, the guest driver, won. Then it was Ryan Schimsk in 3rd.
Rounds 5 and 6 took us to the Pocono Mountains and the Tricky Triangle, and for Ryan Schimsk, his first bobble of the season, a big off. Watch here, right there, got collected by Jim Stout. NHRA drag racing star Alan Johnson negotiated through. Eric Galerin loving the high banks, gassing it right by a wounded Ryan Schimsk. Galerin on his way to his best finish of the season there as well, up on the high banks. Bucky Lasik, skateboarder extraordinaire, little bit of an issue in the same turn. That caught out Schimsk and almost catches Schimsk again. Then he just nudges the barrier, got away with that one. But at the end of the day, as the yellow flag flew, Ben Keating having a big moment as well, running a little wide, and down and underneath goes Keith Verges, and look at Schimsk fighting back. But for Verges, this was going to be his day. Up onto the banking, takes the checkered flag over Keating with Ryan Schimsk, another podium. Then we move on to round number 6. Ben Keating and Keith Verges at war once again on that high banking, cars darting around, all 650 horsepower to good use. Bucky Lasik feeling it, makes the move, steals the last podium spot from Schimsk on the final lap. The only time all year Schimsk would finish off the podium, and Bucky Lasik doing a great job, but Ben Keating getting his 2nd win of the season. Verges another podium.
On to Miller Motorsports Park using the East Circuit, which doesn't often get used in professional racing. As you can see, Ben Keating in that characteristic car with red, white, and blue on it. Starts off to in it to win it and has a spin in the early going. Here's the onboard from Ralph Gilles. You can see he had a spin in mid-race, but his off-roading skills coming to fruition here as he gets back in it and still stays involved. Still, it's Ryan Schimsk who wins again. In the 2nd round at Miller Motorsports Park, more side-by-side racing, and this is going to involve Ralph Gilles, but more importantly, Ben Keating takes out Keith Verges. Verges loses very little track position, but unfortunately Keating will retire. This is side-by-side racing towards the back of the pack. You're not likely to see again, as 3 wide down into turn number 1, and the beneficiary of all of that was definitely Solberger. As you can see, Eric Galerin did not get the good end of the stick, and then something that rarely happens in the desert, sideways rain, and this cost Keith Verges a finish as he spins out first, and then Jim Stout tries to get into turn number 1 and doesn't quite get it done, as he has a long spin as well. And then as it's drying out, just a little moment from Ralph Gilles, and that'll cost him 2nd place. His World Challenge veteran Charles Putnam will take 2nd place, but the win goes again to Ryan Schimsk.
And that brings us right back here to Spring Mountain Motorsports Ranch. Final 2 rounds of the championship. The 9th round, a great story was Tanner Foust. Another one was this guy, Mike Von Quillick, having a rough ride through the desert. Tanner Foust started dead last, the drifting star up to 2nd by the end of the 1st lap. This was a section of track that was under yellow. Ben Keating never saw the lights, drove right around everybody. As you can see, got waved off by the starter, not displaying the checkered flag, displayed it to Ryan Schimsk, and that gave Schimsk the championship over a hotly pursuing Tanner Foust. And that wraps up this amazing first season of the Dodge Viper Cup, an absolutely beautiful setting to do it. And folks, we are looking forward so much to 2011 in anticipation of the new 2012 Viper and the ongoing legacy of the greatest American supercar ever built. For Tom Natchew, I'm Greg Kramer. It has been a pleasure to bring you this brand new championship. We look forward to doing it for many years to come. Take care, everybody.